afternoon. How's everyone in Dubai? Anyone stuck at the airport? Okay, so I'm very happy to be here to talk about ownership and custody. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I've been in Bitcoin and crypto for 13 years now. From the very, very beginning, in the early days, I've always cared about ownership and how to store it safely. And in fact, I blame my strong attention to ownership and custody for not buying Bitcoin in the very early years, because for the first year or two, I couldn't figure out how to store Bitcoin safely, and I delayed my purchase, and it's cost me dearly. That's why I still have to come here and give speeches. Otherwise, I'll be retired on my own private island somewhere. Okay, let's get started. So, we're going to press it. Oh, sorry. We're going to go back. Okay, here we go. So, who owns Bitcoin? Who owns Bitcoin here? All of you? Yeah, a lot of people. More than half, more than 3/4. The question is, do you truly own your Bitcoin? And the importance here is you only truly own your Bitcoin if you have custody over it. Right? If you have an account at some custodial exchange, then you may not truly own your Bitcoin. You just have an account relationship with them. Okay? So what is ownership? Ownership is actually very important, and this topic is actually often misunderstood or often overlooked. Money started with physical ownership. What I mean by that is, think of the money today and think of the money in the old days. Coins and paper notes. It's all about physical, tangible ownership. In the very early days, value is in physical goods. Okay, whether it's commodities, whether it's gold, whether it's the furniture you own, right? Or whether it's the herds of animals and livestock, it's always physical good. That's what true value is. Okay? However, today, money is no longer physically tied, but rather what we call title ownership, meaning you are rich, you have assets because those assets are in your name. They're titled to you. And this is a very important distinction. Okay? Fiat money, the money we have in our bank accounts, the money we have on our ATM cards, it's actually title ownership because money is tied to identity. That's why the concept of KYC is so important, because banks and institutions want to verify your identity. Well, what are the problems and risks with identity-based title ownership? It turns out there's a lot of problems, okay? First of all, when you relinquish control of your money to banks, the big question we've always asked ourselves for the last 10 years and more is, does the bank really have your money? I remember when I got into Bitcoin in 2011 and 2013, there was a banking crisis in Cyprus. This is like 12 years ago, okay? And people were running to the ATMs. And sure enough, 12 years later, the same thing happened again last year with Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank in New York, Credit Suisse. Banking crisis because banks no longer have the money as much as they owe their customers, okay? And of course, the other issue is, can you get your money out in time? Will there be a run on the bank? There were very long lines in front of the banks last year when they had the Silicon Valley banking crisis. And this is not, trust me, this is not the last time. It may not happen in the next few years, but certainly in our lifetime, this is not the last time we'll have these banking crises. Okay? When identity is involved, well, think about it. Think about why you had to go to the ATM to get your money. It's because you don't have control over it. So it turns out you have to prove who you are by these debit cards, ID cards, identity. Okay? So when identity is involved, whenever you have to give your name, when your account is in your name, whether it's a driver license, passport, or national identity card, whether it's bank money or whether it's your stocks in a stock brokerage account, or even your house is titled to your name. Even your cars and motorcycles are titled to your name. When identity is involved, it turns out someone else is always in control because someone is the judge of who you are, whether you are who you are. And that's why there's a concept of identity theft. Okay? So what about cash? cash is a solution. People love cash. People live in a cash society. Some of us, we want to spend cash and hold cash because cash preserves anonymity. It also gives us physical control of our money and how we can spend it. No one can stop us from spending cash. However, the flaw with cash is not the control of the physical pieces of paper, but rather the control over the value. With cash, you don't control the value of the money. That's a huge problem, right? These are 4 examples of real-world currencies in populous countries where the money value has gone to nothing, right? Whether it's the early Deutschmark before World War II, whether it's Argentina Bolivar, whether it's a Zimbabwe money from the last 2 decades. In fact, Zimbabwe now issued a new Zimbabwe dollar that's gold-backed. You guys hear about this? This is just in the last few weeks. They issued a new Zimbabwe dollar, supposed to be gold-backed. They're supposed to control the amount of inflation and the printing. We will see if they can succeed. So whenever you put the power of the money printing in the hands of the central government, in the hands of the central bank, you are trusting that they will not overprint. And historically speaking, all fiat money value has gone to 0. And of course, in India, they also recently, this is like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they changed and banned the 500 and the 1,000 rupee note, right? So they can always recall the old money. So that's the issue. You don't control the value. Now, for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, do you control it? That's a real question. And the better you control your digital cryptocurrency, the better it is for you. Okay, and this is the most important part. So I started this new company called Ballet. This is my 2nd startup, and I've dedicated it to this, okay? So exchange platform. So the alternative is to leave your money on exchanges. I know there are a lot of exchanges out here. How many of you work for an exchange or custodial platform? Yes, a few of you. The rest of you busy keeping other people's money. Okay, so the rest of the exchange folks are all out there trying to get more people to put money on their platforms, right? Now, exchange platforms can get hacked, okay? Not only can the platform get hacked, also your account can get hacked. This is the scariest thing, okay? Even with very reputable exchanges with very tight security, the reality is your individual login account can get hacked and your account can be drained to 0 and there's nothing you can do about it. Exchange will not pay you back, okay? So think about this. So when you put your money on an exchange, you're taking 2 risks. Risk number 1 is the platform can get hacked. It can go bankrupt, like we've seen with FTX and so on, or your account can get hacked, and there's many, many people, thousands and millions of people out there where your account got hacked, okay? And number 3 is the platform itself can, due to bad business, it become insolvent. This is a 3rd risk, okay? Mismanagement of funds, right? Making poor investment decisions, the platform can go bankrupt. And we've seen a lot of that, right? Do I need to mention examples? Probably not. There's too many examples. Okay, so critical lesson. Self-custody your Bitcoin. Self-custody your crypto. I think it's good for everyone. And the question is, do you all know how to self-custody? So traditionally, that's been the hardest thing, right? There's so many ways to store your Bitcoins. We're talking about exchanges, central platform versus self-custody. We're talking about hot wallets versus cold storage. And this is a very, very typical cold storage device. How many of you recognize this? How many of you use this device? Very clean, very simple, plug it in, punch some keys, right? It works. We know the phrase, complexity is the evil of safety. So the question is your solution simple enough and safe enough to use? Right, it seems pretty simple and safe, but in reality, this is only part of the picture. If you zoom out and look at the full picture, a typical person's hardware wallet setup looks something like this. It's a complete mess. People have recovery seed words. You have to write it down by pencil and ink, right? You have to update your firmware for the card, right? You have to figure out where to store your recovery seed phrases. There are people I know who store their recovery cards right in the same box as where they store their hardware wallet. And that's a true story. A lot of people do that. Then what's the point? Right? So there's so much in terms of knowledge that's needed to do operational security properly. Okay? So too complex, and this is a complete failure. What's the solution? Safe and easy cold storage. So for the last 5 years, I've launched a company called Ballet. We provide a very safe and easy to use cold storage card. It's a metal card, completely non-electronic. It is ready to use out of the box. There's no setup. Okay, if you want to learn the technical details, come to our booth on the corner over there. I think it's booth number M25. Very, very easy, multiple currency, supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Zcash, 1,000 different coins, all the ERC20 tokens, 1,000 different coins and NFTs. Bitcoin Ordinal supports everything, okay? This is the first product of its kind. I'm really proud that we have this, okay? Recently, we were down across a milestone, over $600 million stored on these cards worldwide, okay, in all currencies, okay? The second thing we have, which we cannot sell here, unfortunately, in Dubai, is this physical Bitcoin. So this one, you've heard of Casasia's Bitcoin. Some of you have heard of that. They stopped making them, over 10 years ago. But for the first time in a long time, Ballet has now launched a line of physical Bitcoins. This is 1 million Bitcoin, 0.001 BTC. So today it would have about $65 US value of Bitcoin in here. You buy these from us directly, and then it's got Bitcoin. You can collect them. You can store it, hodl it, put it in your safe, give it to your children, give it to your grandchildren. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and then use our app, Ballet Crypto app, to manage all your cards and so on. The most important thing is our ecosystem is really safe and easy for everyone, self-custody, okay? We don't want to custody your coins. We really do not want to do that. It is too much of a responsibility. We want you to hold your own coins. This is our philosophy. The other thing is, because we recognize that Ballet as a company may not be here forever, I've built in redundancy from the get-go. This is an open standard. It's called BIP38 Open Standard, which means that even without my company, even without our app, you will always have access to your coins because the BIP38 Open Industry Standard, the standard's been around for more than 10 years, well tested, it's very secure, never been hacked, and that's why I'm really proud of this line of product, okay? So basically, what you don't want to do is, for most people, okay, if you're the geeks and the nerds, how many geeks and nerds in the audience, like myself? We have a few, okay? So for those who raise your hand, this solution is for you. Okay, I don't mind admitting, I use a device like this myself, and hopefully it's not as complicated and messy as this. But if you use a traditional cold storage device, it's a mess. It looks like this, okay? But for the rest of the 99%, I highly recommend for you to look into a more simple cold storage device where you can self-custody your coins without having to resort to leaving your coins on an exchange on a custodial platform, okay? So only a few seconds left. Want true safety, keep it simple, keep it in a safe, self-custody, physical bearer asset, durable, long-lasting, no electronics, no firmware upgrades, no cables, and then you prevent user mistakes, okay? I have a few seconds left. So Bitcoin is the future of money. Okay, with this future of money, it's about self-custody. It's about not having to always rely on custodial storage, okay? All right, so I'm also the author of this book, Promise of Bitcoin. You can buy this on Amazon in both hardcover and also in audiobook format, okay? Thank you very much for your time today.